So you are visiting China, and everyone tells you that Google Maps is not the best navigation app to use once you are on the ground. But that creates a new problem, because if not Google Maps, then what exactly should I use? Some people say Amap. Some people say Apple Maps is enough. Some people say you should download Baidu Map, which is more local. And some people just panic and download everything. But do you actually need all of them? Or would just one of them be enough? So in this video, I'm going to make this simple. I'll break down the main map apps travelers use in China, compare them from a real traveler's perspective, and show you which one makes the most sense if you want the smoothest experience as a visitor. Alright explorers, time to projecting. For those who are new here, my name is Lee, and this channel is here to help you make your China travel with less frictions. Consider subscribing if you don't want to miss out the latest info about traveling to China. Before we compare the apps, let's first talk about what actually matters when choosing one. Because the best app is not just the one that with the most features, it is the one that works best for you. So here are the 8 main things I will consider when I choose a navigation app. 1. Where can you download it? Can you get it easily from the App Store or Google Play before your trip? 2. Does it work in your preferred language? Does it have an English interface, or are you expected to work through Chinese manuals? 3. How easy is it to use? Can the first-time travelers understand it quickly, or does it feel too local or too technical? 4. How strong is it for real navigation? Not just seeing where the place is, but actually getting from point A to point B. 5. How good is it for public transportations? Because for a lot of travelers in China, metro and transit info matters more than driving. 6. How easy it is to search places. Can you actually type in English, or does it have to be Chinese? Can you search the nearest landmarks? 7. How good is it for real-life traveler situations? Things like airports, stations, mall entrances, pickup points, and larger attractions. And finally, are there any unique functions that make your travel life easier? For example, are there any real-time transit updates, any lane level details, offline features, familiar interface, or easier address handling? That is the lens I want to use for this comparison in this video, because when you look at it that way, the answer becomes much more clear. Let's start with the app that comes out the most, Amap, also called Baidu Maps. This is probably the strongest overall choice for many travelers right now. So let's break it down from a traveler's perspective. Download Amap Global is available through both app stores and Google Play, which already makes it easier for travelers to set up before the trip. Language. This is one of the biggest reasons Amap stands out, because the app has promoted itself as the full English interface for overseas users. Other than English, the app also supports a number of other languages such as Spanish, Portuguese, French, Italian, Turkish, German, and etc. Ease of use. It is a different interface compared to Apple apps or Google Maps, so it may not feel instantly familiar on day one. But compared with other Chinese local maps, Amaps is much more manageable for non-Chinese speakers because it has a very clear English interface. Navigation strength. This is where Amaps really shines. It is built for China's local map ecosystem. And that usually means better road detail, stronger local listings, better transport information, and stronger real navigation inside Chinese cities. Its official listing also highlights real-time traffics, ETAs, detailed junction views, lane-level views, and route options. In regards of public transportation, Amap is one of the strongest here. Its official listing specifically highlights real-time transit info and route options, which is exactly what many travelers need when moving around large cities in China. Search function. Because it is built for China, it is generally stronger for local places search than Google Maps. But even with English support, you may still get the best results if you can enter the names in Chinese. Real-life traveler situation. This is another strong point. If you are dealing with airports, railway stations, large malls, and pickup points, Amap is usually the app I would trust more because it is built around the local system. Unique functions. Amap highlights real-time transit info, route options, real-time traffic and estimations, detailed junction views, lane-level views in some situations. If I had to summarize Amap in one line, it is the best overall navigation app for travelers who want to have the strongest on-the-ground performance in China. If I were to give it an overall traveler's rating, I would rate it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, let's talk about Apple Maps. For download, if you already use an iPhone, you do not need to download anything extra. That alone is a major advantage. Of course, for Android users, this app is simply not an option. Language. This is where Apple Maps feels more comfortable because it follows your iPhone language settings. It is naturally much easier for many travelers to use in English and other languages, supported by iPhone and Siri. Apple's support shows that spoken directions can be changed through Siri language settings. Ease of use. Probably the easiest overall because you are not learning a completely new map style from scratch. If you are already an Apple user, this is the lowest friction option. Navigation strength. Apple Maps works well for many visitors, especially for general city movements, basic directions, and transit. And once you're in China, directions, transit routes, and live traffic become available, and it supports English landmark searches, Chinese pinyin, drop pins, and search in Chinese. For public transportation, it is good and much better than many people expected. But if you want the deepest local transport detail, Amap still feels stronger than Apple Maps. Searching on Apple Maps is easy for English-speaking users, and it is supported for English landmark search and Chinese pinyin spellings. Real-life traveler situation. Apple Maps is very good for travelers who want something simple and familiar, especially for getting around city without having to decode a new interface. If the route becomes more complex or you need stronger local details, a map usually has the advantage. The biggest unique function for Apple Map is not some advanced map layers. It is already there on your phone, you are familiar with it, and easy to understand. That matters a lot when you just land it and do not want to fight with a brand new app. So if I had to summarize Apple Maps in one line, it is the easiest option for iPhone users who want familiarity and less friction. If I were to give it an overall traveler's rating, I would rate it 4 out of 5 stars. Now, what about Baidu Maps? Baidu Maps is definitely one of the major local players, but the biggest issue for many travelers is still the same. It feels less approachable. For download, you can download it before your trip through Apple Store or Google Play. For language, this is a main challenge. Baidu Maps doesn't offer a full English interface. I also didn't find any reliable evidence of broader foreign language support beyond workarounds like pinyin and translation tools. So the safest way to describe it, it is a Chinese first with no full English interface. Ease of use. If you do not read Chinese, it is usually the hardest of the three. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it has a higher learning curve. Navigation strength. It is powerful, very local, and strong for transit, nearby searches, and route planning. And it also supports offline maps, which can be very useful. For public transportation, it is strong, in fact, very strong. This is one of the reasons why locals like to use it. The search function. If you know Chinese spelling or pinyin, it can be very capable. But for travelers who only search in English, this is where it becomes harder. Real-life traveler situation. It can absolutely handle airports, stations, attractions, and city navigations. The real issue is not whether it is capable. The issue is whether the interface is comfortable enough for short-term foreign visitors. The unique functions of Baidu Maps. The most notable one for traveler is the off maps, which can be useful if you want to back up. So if I have to summarize Baidu Maps in one sentence, it is strong and local, but less beginner-friendly for short-term visitors, especially foreign visitors. If I were to give it an overall rating, I would rate Baidu Maps 3 out of 5 stars. But for someone who can understand Chinese, the rating can go a little bit higher. Now, let's make this practical. Say you land in Shanghai Pudong Airport and you want to go to Shanghai Disneyland. This is actually a good test because it combines airport navigation, public transport, and a large attraction. So how would these 3 apps perform in the real situation? Amap is likely the strongest if you want details, local, transit-heavy guidance. This is a kind of route where public transport details matters. And Amap is specifically known for real-time transit info and stronger local navigation details. Pros: strong local transit details, better for exact movements and route planning, stronger China native data. Cons: less intuitive than Apple Maps for some travelers. Some English or search friction can still happen. With Apple apps, it's probably the easiest for an iPhone user landing in Shanghai and wanting quick directions without learning a totally new interface. Once in mainland China, Apple Maps can show directions and transit route. Pros: easiest interface for iPhone users, good for landmark searches like Shanghai Disneyland. Lower learning curve. Cons: may not have as much local map depth as Amap. If things get more complex, you may still want Amap as backup. Baidu Maps can absolutely handle the kind of route. It has strong transit support, walking guidance, nearby search, and offline maps. Pros: it is powerful transit and local data. Offline maps are available if you don't have the internet, and strong local search function. Cons: the hardest for non-Chinese speakers. Interface can feel more intimidating and more translation effort needed. So for the Pudong to Disney example, Amap is the strongest all-rounder. Google Maps is the easiest in terms of interface. Baidu Maps is capable, but least friendly for beginners. So my practical setup recommendation would be use Google Maps for your planning. If you are not comfortable switching immediately to a new navigation app, download Amap as your main navigation app once you are on the ground in China. Use Apple Maps as a backup if you're using iPhone. That way you are covered without making things too complicated. So I hope by now you have a much better understanding of the navigation apps that you can use while you're in China. And I hope this video has been helpful. Don't forget to check out my other videos and the free pre-trip guide link in the description box down below. Project out. I'll see you in the next one.